And the problem, as I think should be clear from the fact that the president will not let us see the visitor logs of who goes into the White House and talks to him, Democratic Congress members have expressed a whole lot of disappointment that Obama has not pushed harder and that he's not in fact written the bill for them. But he doesn't necessarily want a stronger bill than what's moving through there now, and he is right to allow Congress to do at least part of its job. The problem is that Congress has literally forgotten how and cannot even contemplate the idea of putting a good bill on his desk and forcing him to sign it or veto it when he belongs to the same party. On top of this, the Democrats' strategy of all defense all the time means that they want to keep the filibuster rule in the Senate in case the Republicans come back into power, thereby almost guaranteeing that the Republicans, in fact, who looked close to extinction, will come back into power. That any senator of any party would support a rule that allows those who represent 12% of us to block all the work of the Senate and therefore of the House is to expose a complete lack of interest in majority rule, which is, of course, the purpose for which the Senate was created. And so I argue in this book that arguably we would be better off putting the Senate out of its misery. On top of this, what if those in our government, primarily the Democrats who side with truth and justice, were to play offense? What if they not only came out demanding single payer and then compromised with the public option when they had to, but what if they also attempted to impeach Cheney or Bush, or had used the Capitol Police to enforce subpoenas, or were now prosecuting high officials? Would Republicans who have been voted out of power still be on the offensive on health care? If the Democrats eliminated the filibuster rule and passed a good bill with 51 votes, what dirty names could the Republicans possibly call them that they are not routinely calling them at rallies toting guns around? Going on the offensive against their campaign donors and the corporate media and the Republicans could be positive for Democrats. But punishing presidential power abuses would also mean that Obama would have to stop repeating them. Imagine if Congress had attempted or even succeeded in impeaching Cheney, if Congress had not tried to retroactively immunize Bush and Cheney through legislation, if courts had universally upheld the laws the past several years, or if prosecutions of top officials were underway. In that very different world, which we can still create, I'm willing to wager, I'll bet you, anybody who wants to take up these bets, take your choice of them, that President Obama would not be altering laws with signing statements, or creating laws with executive orders, or establishing preventive detention, or continuing renditions, or escalating Afghanistan, or continuing Iraq, or routinely striking Pakistan, or employing mercenaries like Blackwater and propagandists like the Rendon Group, or having kept on Robert Gates as Secretary of War, would not have allowed John Rizzo to remain at all as general counsel in the CIA, given jobs to John Brennan or Greg Craig, would not be keeping so many politically selected prosecutors on the job, would not be keeping the spying programs in place and secret, would not be expanding claims of state secrets beyond what Cheney ever dreamed. So what should Congress do? I'm gonna wrap up, Wesley, and everybody. But what should Congress do? The House Judiciary Committee should hold impeachment hearings for Judge and former OLC head Jay Bybee. Force him to talk. Subpoena those involved. Enforce compliance through the Capitol Police, not the Justice Department. We need the House to establish a select committee, as would be done with HRES 383. We need the House and Senate to pass a bill to extend statutes of limitations to 10 years on the relevant crimes, as proposed by John Conyers in January. And if any of this has to wait absurdly for the OPR report on the legal memos to come out, then Congress can publicly and aggressively demand it or read it into the record. Congress also needs to force the release of the torture photos. And sadly, a side benefit of having finally done the right thing and appointed a special prosecutor is a new excuse for not releasing the photos. And the fact is, if we had a literate society, the memos would put people behind bars. The society we have, we need the photos. We need the photos and we need education. So we need to pressure the Justice Department and Congress We need to go to prosecutebushcheney.org and do everything there. We would be better off, I argue in this book, shifting our spending priorities away from wars and weapons and bankers. We'd be better off ceasing to worship our government's militarism while despising its domestic capabilities. We'd be better off with a new understanding of civil and human rights that included health care and much else. We'd be better off with a reformed system of elections in which it was reasonably possible to defeat incumbents and in which we could be reasonably confident our votes were accurately counted. This would involve eliminating dirty campaign revenue and expenses, the dirty expenses consisting primarily of the repurchase of snippets of our public airways from corporations to which they've been given. We would be better off with formal structures that involve citizens and even public initiatives in governing. And if we are to advance these goals, we will need more independent activist organizations like many of those that are here today. We would need less reverse democratic astroturfing and more organized, nonviolent resistance. In fact, much more organized, nonviolent resistance, especially when we think there is hope for change. I'll take any questions you've got.